Imagine, just imagine, standing face to face with Jesus, feeling every mistake, every regret, but instead of condemnation, receiving something unexpected. That's exactly what happened to Kim Keel. Her near-death experience is miraculous, powerful, and deeply moving. Don't go anywhere, because this is one of the most incredible stories of encountering Jesus you'll ever hear. 17 years ago, Kim Keel was at her lowest point, struggling with dependence on substances, struggling with guilt, and overwhelmed by the weight of her past mistakes. She saw no way out. She felt like she had failed as a mother, as a wife, and as a person. One night, lost in despair, she made a decision. She took a whole bottle of Percocet and half a bottle of Xanax, fully intending to end her life. Here's a short clip of Kim in her own words.
So I'm screaming out to God. I'm like, God, can you forgive me? Am I even forgivable? And I'm getting nothing. And I'm like, God, if I don't hear from you, this is what I'm going to do. And I got nothing. No dream, no vision, no nothing. I said, just give me a sign on the TV, on the road. I don't care. Sign something. Let me know I'm forgiven. I got nothing. And then I started blaming it on God. Well, I'm going to do this because of you. That's what I did. And I took a lot of stuff and laid back in my bed. And there I went. Next thing I know, I'm literally stepping through something.
Lying back on her bed, she thought, in 10 minutes, I'll be gone. But instead of slipping into nothingness, something happened. Kim didn't see a tunnel or a bright light like many others describe. Instead, she found herself stepping through something, almost like a curtain, and suddenly she was in the middle of a vast desert. The first thing she saw was her mother, but her mother was still alive. How was this possible? Confused, Kim looked around. In the distance, she saw a white fence and an old barn. Her mother pointed and said, "Look, there's Jesus." Kim hesitated. She didn't want to see him. She felt unworthy, completely undeserving of even being in his presence. Why me? Why would Jesus care about someone like me? She had made so many mistakes, hurt so many people, and lived a life that she knew was far from righteous. The weight of guilt pressed down on her chest, making it hard to breathe. Shame filled every corner of her soul. She knew the things she had done. She hadn't been kind, she hadn't been gentle, she had been reckless, selfish, and at times cruel. She had lashed out at the people who loved her, her children, and her family. She had spoken words so sharp they left wounds that never fully healed. Here's a short clip of Kim in her own words.
I got really big on worse on pain pills and stuff like that. I got kind of abusive to my son, physically abusive. And I did something I couldn't forgive myself for. And he almost took himself out because I was drunk and told him to go ahead and do it. Go ahead, throw him a rope. That's what I did. And this was 20 some years ago. Yeah, I was highly drunk. It's just mean. And he almost did take that rope and do that. And I could not believe I did it. I couldn't believe I was who I was.
She had become a person she didn't recognize, a person she despised. The affairs, the addiction, the pain she had caused others, especially her children. Shame flooded over her, but she followed her mother toward the barn. There, sitting on a stump, was Jesus. But he didn't look like the powerful divine figure she expected. He looked like a young boy, around 12 years old, with dark, curly hair. Around him sat a group of older men, listening intently as he taught them. Kim kept walking, uneasy, not understanding what she was seeing. As she reached the end of the fence, she suddenly heard a voice right next to her. "Stop. One more step and you will be in outer darkness, and you will not come back." Here's a short clip of Kim in her own words.
And I get to the end of the fence and I don't see anything in front of me but openness, but I hear right here behind me, "One more step, you'll be in outer darkness and you're not coming back." And I stopped. I did not take that step. And I turned around and looked. Now there's Jesus Christ as a man, about 33 like he was. I was like, oh my goodness.
Kim froze. She saw nothing in front of her but endless space, but she knew this was real. She turned around and there stood Jesus again. But this time, he was a grown man. He looked right at her with a stern, piercing gaze. No words, just a stare that made her feel every single thing she had ever done. In an instant, she saw her entire life flash before her. Every mistake, every sin, every moment she had chosen darkness over light. She saw the pain in the eyes of those she had hurt, the opportunities she had thrown away, the bridges she had burned without a second thought. The regret was unbearable. She wanted to look away, but she couldn't. It was all there, raw and undeniable. She thought, is he going to send me to hell? Then something unexpected happened. Jesus nodded slightly, smiled, and reached out his hand. He touched her left shoulder and said, I forgive you. Tears filled Kim's eyes. She hadn't expected mercy. She hadn't expected love. But in that moment, she felt something powerful, pure love. A love so overwhelming she knew she couldn't handle more of it without bursting apart. Then Jesus told her, you are going to teach my people my word. My own people do not know my word, and they do not know how to hear me. You will teach them. Kim was stunned. She didn't understand. She wasn't a preacher. She wasn't even living a good life. How was she supposed to teach anyone? But Jesus continued, showing her things she didn't fully understand at the time. He let her feel his pain, the pain of people rejecting him, of people turning away. And then he let her feel his love, the love he has for every single person on earth. Then he showed her something else, the future. Kim saw great disasters, water rising, floods covering cities, hurricanes destroying homes. She saw destruction in the skies, meteorites falling, shaking the earth. She saw America struggling, falling apart, and she saw something that chilled her to her core, Christian persecution increasing, faith being tested like never before. Then Jesus told her, my people want me to save them, but they don't want to make me Lord of their lives. They want me to follow them instead of them following me. With those final words, he said, give your life to me. Go live for me. And just like that, Kim woke up. She was back in her bed, her husband standing over her, shaking her awake. She immediately started vomiting, purging the pills from her body. She knew she had been given another chance. The next day, her sister, who had no idea what had happened, called her, terrified. Kim, I had a dream last night. You were burning in hell. I don't know what you're doing, but you need to change it. Kim knew then that her experience had been real. She was supposed to be dead. She had been given one last opportunity to choose differently. And she did. She stopped everything. No more substances, no more destructive choices. It wasn't easy. The cravings, the temptations, and the self-doubt lingered. But she clung to the memory of Jesus' words. With every passing day, she fought to be the person he had seen in her, the person she had never believed she could be. Now Kim teaches people how to know God's word and how to hear his voice. As she reflected on everything she had seen, she realized something profound. Time in the spiritual realm doesn't work the same way as it does here. She had seen Jesus as a 12-year-old, then later as a grown man. She had seen her mother, even though her mother was still alive at the time, and she had been shown glimpses of the future, devastating disasters, warnings of what was to come. It was as if past, present, and future all existed at once. She understood that what she witnessed wasn't bound by earthly time, but by a divine perspective where everything is seen as a whole. Imagine standing before Jesus, seeing every choice you've ever made flash before your eyes. Imagine realizing that he is real, that he sees everything, and that he still reaches out his hand and says, I forgive you, even though you may feel that you don't deserve it. If you feel that my videos are worthy of your subscription, I would be eternally grateful. You may also enjoy the video on the end screen, and remember, you are never truly alone.